Chris Woods helps companies build employer brands that actually connect with people. As the European recruitment marketing lead at Mars, he focuses on crafting campaigns that feel human, inclusive, and memorable, not just polished. He believes that best work happens when storytelling meets strategy and when people feel seen, not just targeted. Okay, let's talk about employer branding for a bit. Yes. You often talk about the difference between a job ad and a job description. Mm-hmm. What's the biggest misconception companies have about that?
I think the biggest misconception companies have about job ad versus job description is they don't really understand the difference ultimately. Mm-hmm. And so they always think that candidates want a job description. Candidates want like 6 pages of information and like 30 bullet points. They want to know exactly what they're doing in a role. But ultimately, especially in the world we live in now, we're like bombarded with content. I had that stat, we scroll the height of Eiffel Tower with our thumb every day, which is insane. And so we want real small, short snippets of information to be able to decide. And so if we think about when we are looking for jobs, we want to know very quickly, like, what's the salary? Where's the location? Do I need to be in an office? And then 1 paragraph on helping me visualize that role, but then like maybe 4 bullet points on what the actual role is. And they see the job description as that sales tool, but ultimately it's job ad to hook you. And then when you're in the interview process, when you're kind of speaking to the recruiter, the hiring manager, you can look at that job description and go more in depth. Mm-hmm. But it's the hook, and I think that's what people get wrong most, is they're viewing job descriptions as able to do that hook, but they're not anymore.
Are the bullet points that are working well for hook similar for every job, or it depends?
It depends. I think it ultimately comes down to the talent you're trying to hire. So, and specifically when I'm looking at myself with recruitment marketing, so leading recruitment marketing, the difference there for us is employer brand is about overall awareness. So how do we get as many people to know Mars, in this case, as an employer? And recruitment marketing, how do we convert that talent? So my job is to then go and look at the data around, okay, so if we're hiring, and specifically for Mars, we hire a lot of different talent. And it could be one day we're hiring a veterinary assistant, the next we're hiring like a data scientist. Mm-hmm. They want different things. The bullet points need to be different. It's just about understanding data. So there's great tools out there like LinkedIn Talent Insights, which you can kind of plug the information in. There's free versions as well. And then you'll be able to look at this list of job adverts that are similar. And so going on there and looking at different things. And then AI is our friend as well. So plugging your job description in and saying, what does this data scientist want to hear about us from what they do, but also what makes our business unique. So a great example with data scientists is they might go and work for Google, or Facebook or Apple. So why is Mars, the FMCG business, going to attract them? Well, it's because we're really purpose driven. So if we have a data scientist that really loves to do their work, but for a bigger purpose, so creating a better world for pets, for example, that's the hook. Mm-hmm. So it's come and do this work you do, but for a purpose. And so that might be different for different talent groups.
Depends from the personality, yeah.
Exactly.
And when crafting a job ad, who should be the voice? Which should be the HR, the marketing, the hiring manager?
That's a great question. It's one I hear a lot. It should ultimately be your corporate brand, or every organisation has it different. So big organisation like Mars, we've got all that corporate brand, corporate affairs, but it might be the team you're in. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't come from HR in that sense, because HR's the voice of the job description. Mm-hmm. The job ad should come from what you're trying to sell. And so if we're trying to sell purpose, it should come from holistic organisation. If we're trying to sell the work the team's doing, it should come from the voice of that team. Ultimately, your key thing is putting yourself in the candidate's shoes. So when writing that job ad, considering what they want, who they want to hear from, how they want to hear that, and then being able to write the advert in that style and kind of putting aside our own internal monologue, as it were.
And how do you make sure that an advert reflects both the raw and the emotional side of the company, like the purpose as well?
This is a really tricky one to get right, and I always say this. I'm happy to talk in there and do all these talks in 30 minutes, but it is difficult. So being able to reflect that is really, the emotional comes from the language, and being able to describe what they're doing. And so quite often you'll see job descriptions list almost day-to-day tasks. So you'll be doing X, Y, and Z. And then they might have a point on, selling the company, which is buried in there somewhere. What we want to do is change to, you'll be doing X, which means you're really delivering purpose. So an example of that might be, you'll be a data scientist again, but you'll be creating data lakes, which is helping us understand what pet parents need for their pets and helping us create a better world for pets. So it's bundling those together and having the emotional and what you're doing in one. Now, some of it isn't emotional and you can't put an emotional trigger on that, and that's fine, but it's understanding like what's going to sell to this candidate, but also what gives them the information they need to self-select in or out. Because sometimes, we do have a lot of applicants and we do need to filter that down. We do need a job to filter that down.
And we have so little time, like with this short content. So it's like, do you have any advice how we can put both in the short form content?
Yeah, great question. And the stat I include there is stat differs wherever you look, but on average, external to your careers website. So it's a little bit longer on your careers website, but you have about 14 seconds of a candidate's attention. So if they're looking at Indeed, LinkedIn, any number of these sites, you have about 14 seconds, and that's really not long. Like it's insane. We have TikToks now that are longer than that. So within that time, it's really, I always say, trying to sit down. So the format we talk about is the key info, very glanceable, very quick. A short paragraph which someone can skim read, because that's what we do now. We skim read, we don't in depth. And then those visual bullet points. So it kind of gives some hierarchy. So going in with those bullet points and then sitting down and really considering what you can merge together to really have impact. So again, it might be talking about purpose, but then rather than kind of listing 7 different things below it, it's talking about build purpose by, and then really trying to condense that role down into one. And if you've got a great hiring manager, they'll be able to do that, because ultimately they've got this vision for the role and who they want there. And their vision, they'll be able to say, I want someone, and we've all had it, like a hiring manager intake that's like blurting out info, and you're like, this is great. Let's just put that in sentence form. Let's use that from a selling point of view to be able to have that info. And I give an example of an iPhone. Apple do it amazingly. They help you understand when they try and sell you an iPhone within a sentence or a bullet point what this new camera feature is about. They don't list every single thing about the camera. What they do is say, you can take new amazing high resolution photos.
That's all.
We don't need to know. If I'm sold on that, I can then go and look for more information on why I can do that, how I can do that. But that's what we need to get to with job adverts.
Yeah. And Mars operates in diverse markets. How you adapt your messaging for different cultures or generations?
Yeah, so we have and it's a key challenge that a lot of organisations have, and we're moving more towards a global workforce. So it's a challenge that often comes up, especially like some of the companies here that may have hubs that are remote as well, and that's a key. So how do you sell the mission in that? Ultimately, it's about giving freedom within a framework, and so that's what I always say is, how do you train and explain what you're trying to do. So give people the buy-in, and that might be through, depending on the size of your organisation, recruiters, hiring managers. If you've got bigger employer brand and recruitment marketing teams, great. How do you build that framework? And so for us, that's a guidance. So the format that you should put your job ad in, and then give some creative freedom. But if you're doing the training up front to help people understand why we need to do that, that's where the kind of magic happens.
Yeah. If you had to write one line that sells every job, what would it sound like?
Oh, that's a great question. Every job, are we talking about at Mars or just in general?
Well,
I'm going to make it slightly easier for myself in my role, because one line.
I was about to say, let's do the difficult one, but
Well,
yeah.
okay. We'll do the difficult one. That sells every role. I think it would be something around having purpose in your life, and so going to work, or in this role, you'll come to work to feel fulfilled and purposeful in your life.
So it's that the most important thing now, to have for a person to find a purpose and to feel fulfilled, or should we have some other elements like data, visuals, tone?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on what you're trying to sell and the role in your organisation. It's really easy for me to sit here and say, go to work to feel fulfilled, because I love my job.
Yeah.
I love the company I work for. I love what I do. I love the industry. I'm really lucky that in my early 30s I found that, and I can see a career. I know not everyone has that luxury, so feeling fulfilled may be not something everyone has access to. It's about creating, I always think the world of talent and what we do in talent acquisition, HR, recruitment marketing, is how do we make people's lives easier? And I think that's what we're trying to do. How do we make your life as stress-free as possible? And I'm a big firm believer that we work to live, not live to work. And that's the key. So we go to work to enable us to travel the world, see our family more, go and eat nice food, whatever it is you love doing. We don't live just to go to work. And so work needs to reflect that, and then job ads need to reflect that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.